It has been. I do want to pick up with, and I have no train of thought in terms of where I'm going, but I'm looking at what's happening with your career as you have left ESPN. And I wanted to know, the last time we spoke, you said you had no idea about these people who wanted to be in business with you. And then you announced this huge deal. Was that going on while we were talking? Was that in the mix when we were chatting?
Carrie, that happened in 3.5 weeks, the giant deal. We were negotiating with a whole lot of people about what the podcast could be and where to put it. And then we realized after many months of negotiations that we could probably do a version of trying it ourselves that allowed us to be totally free, to not have to be
Wait.
monogamous to a legacy media partner, to just be the legacy media partner for someone else. So that came together with DraftKings very quickly. And so no is the answer to your question. I didn't have any secret stealth deal. When we left ESPN, we left not knowing exactly how it was going to go.
Oh God, how beautiful is that, Dan, when you do it scared? What about that, Dan?
It's funny that you should say that, right? Because I've done some learning later in life with some wisdoms that I just didn't have access to when I was younger. And the very idea that there can be, it just eluded me. Growth on the other side of discomfort, on the other side of pain. Go toward the fear, go toward the pain, go toward the growth. Because when you're comfortable, you're not afraid. And when you're not afraid, you're a little too comfortable. And
Dan,
I now it's easy to say. It's easy to say that that place is hard to leave, Carrie, because
d
it's a destination. And I'd been single all my life, so I had 30 years of savings as a single man, and I had plenty of journalism bona fides, and I had opportunities, and it was still scary to leave.
can you believe that? Can we talk about that for a second? Why is it so hard slash scary to leave ESPN? There are people watching and listening right now who want to fly, but they are so afraid to. Why is that?
Because it was something in our childhood that we grew up with that became the standard for where it is. All of us wanted to arrive with our vanities, with our insecurities, because they would make you matter. They would give you the bona fides. They would give you the reach of television and those four letters behind your name. And it sort of masked wherever it is that you felt fraudulent. They knighted people and they made them matter. And when that's the standard that you're getting to, and you get to the standard and you're living inside the standard, and you look around and you're like, well, I need something more. This is not quite enough. I need something to feel. I need my experience with my workday this late in life, right? Because I'm making choices for what represents the end of my career this late in life with the wisdoms accrued over a lifetime. I when I got, this is funny to say, Carrie, because I could have never imagined it at any point in my life. But when
Yeah.
I got to the sports reporters, Times Square, Sunday morning, the height of whatever print journalism was at the time, to be on television on ESPN at the bottom rung of the ESPN ladder. When I got there, it was the top of my profession. I looked around, it smelled like an old bar, Times Square, late at night, a little bit of urine, little vomit. The chairs looked like they were 20 years old. Many of them were on the tables from the night before, a dirty night in Times Square of drinking. There are a handful of bagels and Bob Ryan and doesn't smell too good, and Lupica's telling me that my tie needs to be better, and I'm there and I'm like, this can't be the top. This is the place I've been trying to get to all my life, and it feels a little smaller than I imagined. It ended up happening with us at ESPN, where at the end it felt like things were closing in on us in a way that was small, and we wanted to be something bigger.
Do you want to get into specifics or not?
I mean, we can go wherever you want to with this. The ending was very public. Like, I'm very grateful, Carrie, to everything that ESPN did for us, because they validated us. But you saw everything that happened over the summer. You've seen everything where their conflicts are on the race stuff, on the politics stuff. You saw a corporate statement that went out, hashtag one team. And then all of a sudden, people were allowed to talk about social issues because it was a pandemic, and stuff that we weren't allowed to talk about, we were allowed to talk about. And all of that just felt different than the reason I was hired. I was hired to be a fire starter. I was hired to talk about some of the difficult stuff, and the country changed, and the company changed, and the country's president changed, and the company's president changed. And what didn't change is the reason I was hired, and what didn't change is that I was going to be my most authentic voice and self, and everyone saw what happened after that. So we left amicably, and I don't have hard feelings toward ESPN. They helped make us. They helped make us bigger, and they gave us our stuff and let us leave, and so it was a mutually beneficial relationship for as long as it was a mutually beneficial relationship. And then they got out of the business of being, near the headlines with this political stuff and racial stuff around us. And so we left.
It's interesting that you say you left amicably because I did not. I feel a way. You know what I mean? And I'm not mad, but I feel a way because um I rang the bell. I alerted. I went to Jimmy and said, "You got a real problem here. There are people that you work for that are not in the business of taking care of people of color, especially women." This was in 2020, and he's like, "Well, and he just kind of brushed it under the rug and said, "I got a list. If you got a pen and paper here, I'll write down some names." And I said, "Jimmy, I'm not giving you any names. You know who I'm talking about." Now, with that being said, you left in a way that was respectable. I can't say that everybody had that same luxury, but you also earned it. But I think everybody earned it, Dan. When you walk away with all of your items, with all of your rights, and you go on, and you, of course, you're not bitter because look, you're getting paid more and doing what you want to do. But do you see the inequity that exists in that company?
I would say that what you just saw happen, and I'm sure you were looking at this very closely, with everything related to Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor and the public
Mhm.
mess that was, as Maria Taylor was someone who behind the scenes was doing the same kind of advocating that you were, and having and enduring some of the same kinds of frustrations that you felt, and was trying to find her voice and trying to be heard and feeling like she was landing short of where she wanted to, and eventually leaves that company because of it. What Rachel Nichols was complaining about on that private audio that
Private.
represented a sentiment that you shouldn't say in public, but she didn't say in public, and a
Mhm.
sentiment that any of us with any ambition can understand the humanity in it. If you're saying, well, we're only allowed one space for a woman, and now we've got to choose because there can't be multiple spaces between Maria and Rachel, and then you get
Mm.
into real estate and ego and protection of turf and all that stuff. What I
Yeah.
want, what can't be ignored because it's too obvious, and if you care about these things, it's something you can't unsee. Maria Taylor is no longer at ESPN. Rachel Nichols soon will no longer be at ESPN. But what Rachel Nichols was complaining about in the thing that got you to her, that is still at ESPN. She was complaining your crappy record on diversity is not going to be something that you fix on my watch. And now Malika Andrews takes over at 26 years old. And I wonder, and I imagine you wonder as a friend of Jamel Hill's, do you want black voices or do you want black faces? Do you want
They want black faces. They do not want black voices. That's clear, because it's too uncomfortable. I was told that this is before all of this was announced. Like, there were people calling me asking me was I interested in coming back, and but very clear about what I wouldn't be getting if I did come back. The same thing exists, and I was like, well, why would I want to do that? Thank you for, I don't know. Because the reality is what you just said is that they gave us a name, they gave us a platform, and that allowed us they validated us, and that allowed us to move on. So I will never take that for granted, and I will mention that.